Hello students and welcome to C.V. Raman lecture series for BSc students. First of all, I would like to express my sincere thanks to Honorable Principal Vinayak Vignan Mahavidyalay, Nandgaon Khandeshwar, District Amravati. Again, I would like to thank Dr. Anant Wadatkar, Head Department of Physics, Vinayak Vignan Mahavidyalay, Nandgaon Khandeshwar, District Amravati, and again I express my thanks to Dr. Prashant Kharath, convener of C.V. Raman lecture series for BSc students for organizing such a wonderful event. In this short lecture, first we will see some examples in our daily life in which classical mechanics is involved, and then further we will discuss why we need quantum mechanics, or in short. When we talk about physics, the term physics was basically derived from a Greek letter physika, which means nature or natural things. This means that when we study physics, we ultimately study nature or natural things. To study physics, we require four fundamental forces of nature, that is gravitational force, electromagnetic force, strong force, and a weak force. Physics is broadly classified into two major categories, that is classical physics and modern physics. The physics before 19th century is known as classical physics, and classical physics is further subdivided into following major categories, that includes mechanics, heat and thermodynamics, optics, and electromagnetism. Electromagnetism is also known as classical electrodynamics. In mechanics, we mainly deal with motion of macroscopic and observable objects. The size of macroscopic and observable objects may vary from few micrometer to the size of astronomical objects such as planets, spacecraft, galaxies, etc. Mechanics is mainly influenced by Newton's laws of motion and its application, and hence it is also known as Newtonian mechanics. In heat and thermodynamics, we mainly study the flow of heat and the relation between heat and other forms of energy. In optics, we study the behavior and properties of light. Optics mainly deals with wave nature of light. Using this wave nature of light, we can explain several physical phenomena such as reflection, refraction, interference, diffraction, polarization, etc. In electromagnetism, we study the interaction between electric field and magnetic field by using further extension of Newtonian mechanics. We know that a static electric charge produces a stationary electric field, but when the charge is in motion, it produces current. So we can say that in electromagnetism, we study the relation between electric charges and current. The physics in 20th century is known as modern physics, and modern physics is further subdivided into following major categories, that include atomic physics, nuclear physics, quantum mechanics, and relativity. In atomic physics, we study the structure of atom and its energy levels. In atomic physics, we study structure of atom and its energy level and the interaction of atom with other particles as well as its interaction with electric field and magnetic field. In nuclear physics, we study the structure of nucleus and the interaction between nuclear particles or subatomic particles such as proton, neutron, etc. Quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics mainly deals with extremely small particles. Extremely small particle means those particles having size equal to or less than 10 raised to power minus 10 meters. And if the size of the particle is less than or equal to 10 raised to power minus 10 meters, then we can say that the particle is extremely small particles. And when the particle have extremely small size, then the behavior of the particle changes suddenly, and we cannot study the behavior of the particle by simply using Newton's laws of motion. Now, to study the behavior of extremely small particles, a new field emerges, that is quantum mechanics, and quantum mechanics mainly deals with behavior of extremely small particles such as atom, nuclear particle or subatomic particles such as proton, neutron, etc. In mechanics, we have discussed that mechanics mainly deals with the motion of macroscopic and observable objects. Now, the speed of these objects or this particle is extremely small as compared to speed of light. Now, if the particle moves with a speed which is comparable to speed of light, at that time we cannot describe the behavior of the particle by using Newton's laws of motion. We have to modify Newton's laws of motion. And relativity is the theory which studies the behavior of the particle which moves with extremely high speed, the speed which is comparable to the speed of light. Before going on to quantum mechanics, we will study some examples in our daily life, and then we will overview some examples from your previous semester in which classical mechanics is involved. Let us start with physics in daily life. We will consider 5 examples in the category physics in daily life. First one is alarm clock. Second one is steam iron. Third one is walking. Then fourth one is ballpoint pen. And last one is seat belt of a car. Physics get involved in your daily life right at the moment you wake up in the morning. The buzzing alarm helps you to wake up in the morning as per your schedule. Now, as the alarm buzzes, sound is produced, sound waves propagates in the medium and reaches to you. Now, sound is something that you cannot see, but you can feel or experience it. Now, when you wake up in the morning, you start preparing for office or school. At that time you need to iron your clothes with the help of a steam iron, and this steam iron works on the principle of heat and thermodynamics. When you iron your clothes, heat is transferred from a hotter body to a colder one. Now, when you get ready for school, then whatever may be the medium of commutation, you walk a certain distance. You can walk on the surface of the road smoothly due to friction or traction. Now, what happens when a banana peel comes under your shoes? If the banana peel comes under your shoes, then you will suddenly fall down because the force of friction get reduced. This means that we can walk smoothly on the surface of road due to friction or traction. Now when you reach to the office or school, you always use a ballpoint pen, and when you start to write using a ballpoint pen on a paper, then at that time gravity works. Due to gravity, the ink comes on the top of the ball and get transferred on the paper. Whenever you are traveling with a car, your body will move as quickly as the car moves. The seat belt of the car holds your body tightly with the seat of the car. Now as soon as the person who is traveling the car hits the brakes, at that time the seat belt will prevent your body to move in forward direction. It means that the principle of inertia works here. What is the principle of inertia? Inertia is the unwillingness of a body to change its state of rest or state of motion. You can give number of examples from your daily life, right from your home appliances. Now if we want to study these examples in our daily life in a systematic and scientific way, then at that time we require some rules, and these rules are called as laws of physics. And when these laws of physics are applied to macroscopic and observable objects, then these laws of physics which are applied to macroscopic and observable objects comes under classical mechanics. In previous standard, you have learned various types of motions. Including circular motion, rotational motion, vibrational motion, etc. Now these motions are the part of simple harmonic motion, and when you have studied simple harmonic motion, you come across several examples such as motion of simple pendulum, motion of compound pendulum, motion of mass spring system, etc. And when we study all these examples, we have to use several physical quantities such as force, torque, angular momentum, etc. This means that when we study simple harmonic motion, we require several physical quantities including force, torque, angular momentum, etc. And we have to study all these motions by using Newton's laws. Newton's laws of motion. And as we use Newton's laws of motion here, then these motions are the part of classical mechanics. In BSc 2 semester 3, you have studied electromagnetism. And in electromagnetism, you have studied electrostatic, magnetostatic, and propagation of electromagnetic waves in free space or vacuums. In free space or vacuum. Now in electrostatic, what is electromagnetism? In electromagnetism, we study the interaction between electric field and magnetic field by using further extension of Newtonian mechanics. Now in electrostatic, we study the interaction between static electric charges. In magnetostatics, we have studied that whenever a steady current flows through a straight conductor, then that flow of steady current in the straight current conductor produces a steady magnetic field in the surrounding space in the form of concentric circles. This means that in magnetostatic we study how steady current is produced. When we study electrostatic and magnetostatic, we have used several laws, that is Coulomb's law, Gauss's law, Faraday's law, Lenz's law, Ampere's law, and these laws are nothing but it is the further extension of Newtonian mechanics. Now when we study propagation of electromagnetic waves in free space or vacuum, at that time we have used Maxwell's equations. And these Maxwell's equations are derived on the basis of Gauss's law and Faraday's law. Therefore, we can say that these Maxwell's equations are again part of classical physics or classical mechanics. In electrostatic, we mainly deal with static electric charges which produces stationary electric field. But what happens if the charge is in motion or when the charge gets accelerated? In 1864, Maxwell made a remarkable suggestion, and he suggests that whenever a charged particle accelerates, it produces coupled electric field and magnetic field oscillations that propagates indefinitely in the space. Now if the charge oscillates periodically, then disturbances are the waves in which electric field and magnetic field are perpendicular to each other and both are perpendicular to direction of propagation of electromagnetic wave. This means that in electromagnetic waves, electric field, that is electric field vector, and magnetic field, that is magnetic field vector, both are perpendicular to the direction of propagation. And when we have studied propagation of electromagnetic waves in free space or vacuum, we have derived a differential equation, second order differential equation for the wave equation of electromagnetic waves, and we have derived the speed of electromagnetic waves, and the speed of electromagnetic waves was found to be 1 upon in under root of epsilon 0 mu 0, where epsilon 0 is the permittivity of free space and mu 0 is the permeability of free space. Now if we put the value of epsilon 0 and mu 0 in this equation, then the speed of electromagnetic wave comes out to be 2.998 multiplied by 10 to the power 8 meter per second. Now this speed, that is speed of electromagnetic wave, which is V equal to 2.998 multiplied by 10 to the power 8 meters per second, is very close to speed of light, which is 3 multiplied by 10 raised to power 8 meter per second, and from this we can conclude that light is an electromagnetic wave. Now in BSc 2 semester 4 you have studied optics. And what is optics? In optics, we study the behavior and properties of light, and the optics mainly deals with wave nature of light. In optics, we have studied several phenomena including reflection, refraction, interference, diffraction, polarization, etc. And these phenomena, that is reflection, refraction, interference, diffraction, polarization, can be explained on the basis of wave nature of light or on the basis of classical theory. Now when we study optics, we mainly deal with wave nature of light. Now we all know that light consists of small bundles of energy, and these bundles of energy are called as quanta or photon. And energy of each photon or quanta is given by E is equals to h into nu, where h is the Planck constant and nu is the frequency of radiation. It means that light has dual nature. That is wave nature as well as particle nature. And this classical theory neglected the particle nature of light. And if the particle nature of light is neglected, then the classical mechanics or classical theory fails to explain several physical phenomena such as photoelectric effect, Compton effect, black body radiation, etc. So let us move further and see whether classical theory explains the stability of atom or it fails to explain the stability of atom. The structure of atom was explained by Rutherford, and it is known as Rutherford atomic model. Now according to Rutherford, atom consists of densely packed mass of positively charged particles which is concentrated over a very small volume or over a very small region, and Rutherford named that region as nucleus. And electrons are the negatively charged particles. Electrons are the negatively charged particles, and these electrons revolve around the nucleus in circular paths, and these paths are called as orbits. and when the electron revolves around the nucleus in circular orbits, it gets accelerated. And Maxwell suggests that whenever a charged particle accelerates, it emits electromagnetic radiation. And these electromagnetic radiations are emitted at the cost of decrease in energy of the electron. Now, if this electron continuously moves around the nucleus and emits electromagnetic radiations, then its energy will go on decreasing continuously, and if energy decreases continuously, then the radius of the circular path of the electron must go on decreasing, and finally the electron will fall inside the nucleus. And if the electron falls inside the nucleus, then atom become highly unstable, and if atom become highly unstable, then it poses a question on existence of matter. So this classical theory was unable to explain the stability of atom. In mechanics, we mainly deal with the motion of macroscopic and observable objects. Now, if the speed of the particle is very high and the size of the particle is extremely small, let us consider these two cases, that is when the speed of the particle is extremely high and when the size of the particle is extremely small. Now, if the speed of the particle is extremely high, extremely high speed means which speed? The speed which is comparable to speed of light. If the speed of the particle is comparable to the speed of the light, then we can say that the particle moves with extremely high speed. And in mechanics or classical mechanics, we mainly deal with the motion of macroscopic and observable object, and in those motion the speed of the particle is very small, and we can apply Newton's laws of motion to study the behavior of the particle. Now, when the speed of the particle is extremely high speed, now what is extremely high speed? The speed which is comparable to the speed of the light. Now, when we can say that the speed of the particle is comparable to the speed of the light? Suppose we consider that the particle moves with a speed which is 10% of speed of light, 60% of speed of light, 90% of speed of light, 95% of speed of light, 98% of speed of light, 99% of speed of light, or 100% of speed of light. Now, as the speed of the particle approaches to nearby 100%, then at that time we can say that the speed of the particle is comparable to the speed of the light. And if the speed of the light is extremely high, then we cannot apply Newton's laws of motion to study the behavior of the particle. We have to modify Newton's laws of motion. And when the particle moves with such a high speed which is comparable to speed of light, at that time the concept of space and time changes drastically, and we cannot describe the behavior of the particle by using simply Newton's laws of motion. We have to modify Newton's laws of motion, and the theory which studies the behavior of the particle which moves with extremely high speed, and that theory is the theory of relativity. Let us see what happens when the size of the particle is extremely small. Now extremely small particles means the particles which have the size which is equal to or less than 10 raised to power minus 10 meters. Now if the particle have the size which is equal to or less than 10 raised to power minus 10 meters, then we can say that the particle have extremely small size. And if the particle have extremely small size, then the behavior of the particle completely changes and we cannot apply Newton's laws of motion to describe the behavior of the particle. In 1921, de Broglie proposed a hypothesis in which he states that a moving particle is associated with a wave. And if we consider the wave nature associated with the moving particle, then these waves associated with the moving particle may superimpose on each other, and when the particle moves, the subatomic particle or nuclear particle, if we consider subatomic particle or nuclear particle, then this particle continuously moves within the nucleus or within the atom. And if the waves associated with this particle are superimposed with each other, then we cannot give the exact position and speed of the particle. In mechanics, we can predict the exact position and speed of the particle, and hence we study the behavior, hence we can study the behavior of the particle. But in quantum mechanics, or if the particle is extremely small, and if we consider the de Broglie hypothesis that the moving particle is associated with a wave, at that time the atomic particle or subatomic particle are continuously moves in the atom or nucleus, and the waves associated with the particle superimposes on each other, and at that time we cannot find exactly the position and speed of the particle, and hence Newton's laws of motion are insufficient to describe the behavior of the particle at atomic and subatomic level. At that time a new theory emerges, and that theory is quantum mechanics. And in quantum mechanics we study the behavior of the particle which are extremely small, having size less than or equal to 10 raised to power minus 10 meters. Finally, let us discuss the major differences between classical physics and quantum physics, classical mechanics or quantum mechanics. Now, the classical mechanics. The classical mechanics mainly deal with motion of macroscopic and observable particles, while quantum mechanics deals with microscopic particles. Microscopic particles or very small particles. The size of the microscopic particle may vary from few micrometer to the size of astronomical objects such as planets, spacecraft, galaxies, etc. In quantum mechanics, the size of the particle is less than or equal to 10 raised to power minus 10 meters. Again, the classical theory consider only wave nature of light, while quantum mechanics or quantum theory consider dual nature of light. that is particle nature as well as wave nature. Again, in classical theory, events are predictable. Events are predictable. While in quantum mechanics, events are unpredictable. In classical mechanics, events are predictable. It means that if we know the initial position of the particle, then we can find out the final position of the particle. But in quantum mechanics, we can just give the probability of finding the particle. We can't exactly find the position of the particle. We can just find the probability of finding the particle. Again, what are the examples of classical mechanics? Examples of classical mechanics are motion of planets, again interference, diffraction, polarization, etc. And what are the examples of quantum mechanics or quantum theory? That is photoelectric effect, Compton effect, black body radiation, etc. In next lecture, we will focus on the distinct failure of classical mechanics and black body radiation.